In this video, you're about to watch me do a live cold call roleplay with my buddy Jay to help you understand how to open a call, pique curiosity, ask good discovery questions, deal with objections, and confidently set the meeting. Now, I will admit I fumbled around a few times. There are a few lines I used that actually didn't resonate. My buddy was laughing about it, but what you're going to get to witness is the power of role-playing in action when you're working with a peer to get accountability and feedback so that you can actually test your script, see how it resonates, and actually improve it. So use this conversation to adapt the frameworks, the principles, and the scripts to your own company, your market, your solutions, and the problems you solve. And with that, let's get into it. You are the Chief Information Security Officer. I'm an SDR from Rubrik, interrupting your day, and you don't want to talk to me. So let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Hi, this is Chris calling from Rubrik. I probably caught you in the middle of something, but I was just reading about your recent AI initiatives, and I was hoping to ask you a couple quick questions to see if it's even worth a larger conversation. You got a second?
Honestly, hang up. Screw this guy.
It just hung up on me. Guys, the reality is no matter how good your opener is, you're going to get hung up on sometimes. But you got to play the law of averages. Let's try it again.
Let's hit the double dial.
I'm going to make another call. Well, I don't know if I'm going to double dial you. You know,
Let's do
okay,
it.
you know what? The double dial. The double dial is when you call someone back immediately after they hung up on you. And I've actually done some live cold call videos where I did that. And you probably get hung up on again, but let's just try it. So
Sweet.
I'm actually going to ring him again, double dial. Here we go. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, this is Chris again. I can't help it. You know, we help companies like you improve the results from a cybersecurity perspective. I'm curious, like, can I share a quick story of how we helped a similar customer?
Honestly, Chris, I am busy.
I get it. Would it make sense for me to tell you that story right now, though, just so you can decide if it even makes sense to talk again in the future?
I'm busy, Chris.
Okay, well, how about this? Let's just set aside some time when I'm not calling you out of the blue and interrupting your day, just to have that one-time conversation. Because again, if you talk with me one time, you tell me to take a hike, it's not a fit, I can accept that. I'll never call you again. So can we just get some time on the calendar, maybe for 2 days from now?
You make a compelling offer, Chris, but I'm busy.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know what? Technology changes all the time, and I don't even know your current situation, but do I have your permission to follow up again in a certain time frame to see if anything has changed?
Yes.
Okay, what's the best time to follow up? Should I follow up in a month, 2 months, even longer?
Yeah. Let's do 2 months.
Okay, and what I'm going to do, if you don't hate me, is I'm going to send a calendar invite for 2 months from now, specifically on X date, and it'll be on your calendar so you know I'm going to be calling you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and do you prefer afternoons because maybe you have focus work you need to get done in the morning, or like what's the best time typically to call you?
Yeah, afternoons typically work.
Okay, yeah, let's. I'm gonna send it out for like maybe 3 p.m. Central. Do you think that would be good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I sent that invite. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And could you just accept that for me right now?
Tentative accept.
Okay, cool. And honestly, awesome. You know, you have a great day. I look forward to checking with you around then. In that moment, I felt a little ridiculous, and I wouldn't like say right now and yell at the prospect. But maybe I was pushing it. How did you actually feel when I was like pushing it a little further to make sure you accepted? Like how would you have felt? Because I just did that in the moment, but.
I think a lot of it, like I would actually do the same thing, but I would word things just a little like different. Like I think when I was like, oh yeah, like 2 months, great. For the sake of my bad memory, I'll just throw something on the calendar so we don't miss it. So like things like that sometimes make people feel more psychologically safe, where it's not like I'm just coming at you like 100 miles per hour, like you need to meet with me. But it's like, for the sake of my bad memory, I'm just gonna like leave this as a placeholder, and then as it gets closer, clearly like follow up. But at the end of the day, it's like you're an SDR paid to do a job, which is set meetings, and I think you did a really good job.
Thanks, Coach. No, but the thing is, I do think you got to find a balance of not being too pushy, and so that was the only thing I was thinking of is like pushing to get him to accept the invite, but also you got nothing to lose, to just like. But I think it's really important to appeal to reason and say, Like, let's have one-time conversation, and if at the end of that you tell me to take a hike, I will. And that's something I think some prospects recognize, that if they actually do talk with a seller and give them actually have an authentic conversation where there's a chance to qualify the opportunity in and out, the seller will leave you alone. A good seller would, if there's not a fit. So, I'm going to call you again, and let's see if we can get through maybe more of the script too.
Let's do it.
Maybe in this case, you give me an opportunity to share why I'm calling. So let's try it.
Sweet.
So, all right. Dialing you. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, this is Chris calling from Rubrik. Probably caught you in the middle of something, but I was just reading about your AI initiatives, and I was hoping to ask you a couple quick questions to see if it's even worth a larger conversation.
You know what? I am walking in between meetings, but I have a few minutes. Go ahead and tell me.
Okay, I really appreciate it. I work with chief information security officers like you all the time at other leading healthcare institutions. Do you mind if I share a 1-minute story of how we help St. Luke's Medical improve their data resiliency strategy and get a 73% TCO on their legacy systems?
Yeah, 100%.
Was that, why are you laughing? A little wordy? Little wordy?
Yeah, I mean, it was very tech salesy, but
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of density in it, but I mean, yeah, I would love to hear that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. St. Luke's CISO, he had big responsibility to manage a couple petabytes of data, millions of records a day. And he had a sense that they couldn't afford a ransomware attack, and they had legacy systems that were costly and risky. And he wanted to actually run a simulation to see what would be the impact of a ransomware attack, how long would it take to recover, what would be the cost. And he found out after doing the simulation, it took over a month to recover their data, and it would have cost them millions of dollars. He realized, we cannot afford this. This is life or death for us and our ability to serve our clients. So he turned to us to leverage a more proactive approach to his data resiliency strategy, and we were able to partner with them to give a solution that, through things like immutable backups and applying AI to their whole environment, gave them peace of mind at the end of the day, where they could sleep at night. They knew their data was even more secure, and it gave them a 73% TCO, total cost of ownership, versus their legacy system. So they saved a lot of money too. And we're really proud of that result. So I'm curious, how are you approaching your data resiliency strategy today?
I mean, we do a lot of stuff, but we partner with Cohesity, and they've been doing a lot of, obviously, the software within our backups, and then replication that goes to Iron Mountain with, things that aren't too mission critical. But yeah, mostly just that strategy, and it works. So
Okay.
That's been good.
What do you like most about working with Cohesity?
Honestly, just the relationship with our reps there. Known our core rep for probably like 3-4 years now, and I would honestly even invite him over to my Thanksgiving in a few weeks. Like, he is such a good guy.
Wow. It sounds like you have an amazing relationship there. And I have heard that about Cohesity. When I talk to prospects that are working with them, they say they offer a great partnership. Sometimes they do mention some concerns around the ability to modify and delete backups, and that introduces some risk that companies like St. Luke's, they actually were using Cohesity, and they calculated pretty big cost as a result of that vulnerability. I'm just curious, how are you managing the risk of being able to modify and delete backups?
I'd probably have to connect with our head IT manager just to see what the day-to-day specifically looks like. But we run a few simulations every now and then of like what it would be to like rehydrate data for backups and stuff like that. But I can definitely reach out to him and get more of an in-depth analysis for us to review and get back to you with some firm numbers.
Okay. And have you ever run a simulation to identify how long it would take you to recover from a ransomware attack?
No, I mean, we're just so busy right now. It's like we would love to run a simulation, but we just don't have the time.
Okay, understood. And although you're not the same as St. Luke's Medical, you are a similar size organization in their space. And so yeah, for them, it took them over a month and would cost them millions of dollars if they were breached. But what we could do is look at helping you run a simulation on your environment so you can get that data and more insight. And then, we could help you understand where we could increase your options around specifically addressing a gap of being able to modify and delete backups, which is a common risk for a lot of organizations, even using Cohesity. So do you mind if I make a quick suggestion?
Sure.
How about we set aside some time, when I'm not calling you out of the blue, to talk with your dedicated team, your account executive who talks to a ton of companies like yours, and we will dig into how we could support you with evaluating your current risk, maybe running a simulation, and just give you some options, again, around the backup. So would you be open to, a conversation maybe next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central?
Yeah, I'm pretty open to that.
Okay. I'm just going to send an invite to you right now, confirming your email is j at riversidemedical.com.
Yeah. Bingo.
Okay, cool. Can you just accept that while we're here right now?
Sure.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Is there anyone else who should join the conversation just so we make the most of it?
I think for now, you and I, it will be good.
Okay.
Yeah, should be good.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the conversation to talk about where we can support your strategy. And, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. So that's fun. So we did a few variations here. You could have hit me with things like send me an email. I'm not interested. There's plenty of other objections we could get into, but it's fun role playing because also even in the moment too, I'm like, it's a craft that we really need to practice and sharpen, whether you're an SDR or account executive who needs to do outbound, even myself, working with people to customize their scripts and support them, tailoring to the context of their role. So practice is so important. It's fun to be able to practice here and even get feedback. That's part of the role play where sometimes I could feel like, I don't know if I feel a little cringe with that piece, and then I could get some feedback from you, but I will say that cold calling is so context specific. So we applied this to a data resiliency solution, but selling HR tech or staffing services, selling the Oracle database, it's all different. Or being a founding SDR at a no-name startup, any perspective you want to share around the overall role play? Because I think we should get into that. I can walk through some of the components of the opener and things and the psychology behind it, but I would love your high-level thoughts too on the role play.
Yeah, I mean, first, it gave me nostalgia since I used to sell backup solutions with Dell, kind of like core storage backup, disaster recovery, and Rubrik we competed against. Frankly, they typically had technology superior to ours. They're pretty solid.
Yeah.
The thing with cold calls is you have to, I always recommend to people channel into your own energy. And for me, whenever I call people, I'm typically a little more vague. I'm like, hey, this is Jay from Dell. How are you doing? And I think I never crushed it with the cold call scripts. One of our mutual friends, Trent Dressel, he's a big cold caller, and I know he has all these good one-liners. Your YouTube does as well. I always took the approach of being very casual and almost unscripted in a way where it just felt like I was coming off as a friend. And then almost, 2-3 minutes into the conversation, oh my gosh, what are your Thanksgiving plans? Or, oh, you live there, that's a great city. Have you been to this spot? Then I'd be yeah. And then I'd kind of transition in a very fluid way. It's oh, cool. The reason I was calling is I noticed X, Y, Z. Curious, are you a good person to speak to about this, or who'd be the best on your team? So kind of isolating the champion priorities. And then, just coming up with kind of different events that are happening. So clearly, if you're talking to a CTO, CISO, you could build some rapport on things that are happening and try to relate it to maybe where you want the conversation to go. So if I'm a seller right now, I might plug into ChatGPT. It's hey, here's my product. I understand maybe this is what's happening in tech, the AWS outage or something like that. How can I kind of relate that into asking questions about their, we'd call it DIA, data and vulnerability architecture or something like that. So I would take more of a casual approach, but that's me. I know guys like Chris Bussing, Trent Dressel, other guys who just crush it with these perfect scripts, and it's the results of your outbound program prove it. I've seen a lot of the guys you help with Databricks just crush it. So no silver bullet, but I've always taken a bit more of a casual approach, and
I like that.
Maybe I'm just more of a casual guy.
Well, authenticity is really important, and it is the energy and how you're showing up is more important than the scripts. And if the energy is behind the scripts isn't good, the scripts will fall flat. You know, so that actually is an important take home for the audience. So and we could break down just a little bit of the psychology behind some of the scripts, but it doesn't matter. You could use the scripts I just used, and but your energy could be off. And I do think that if you have something personal to relate to the person you're reaching out to about, based on your research on LinkedIn, maybe there's a synergy between your companies, like you have a shared VC investor or a shared partner. There's ways to make it like super personal and warm, you know, but it's that energy. And I, like you said, like talking to a friend, you know, that makes it makes a huge difference. So I really agree with that, man. And so, because what's interesting too is when I actually cold call, because I've done some live cold calling and I need to get back to that. There are times where, like, just in the moment, I do say, like, screw the script, and I'm just real and in it. And there's spontaneous moments of, like, I'll stutter but like laugh about it. Like, that was the smoothest cold call you ever got, probably.
Yeah, like,
you know, so it is ultimately about that authenticity. You need to know your value and be reaching out for a reason, especially with executives, and get to the point quickly. But yeah. So anything else you want to riff on? Otherwise, I'll break up. I'll kind of walk through some of the stuff that was on display.
Yeah, let's do it. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway is energy always beats form. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I really like that you double down on that, because like if you're not bought into the words you're saying and like you don't believe it, you don't have the conviction behind it, like no script is going to help you.
Yeah, and it also company specific. Like I was at Oracle, you were at Dell, some of the greatest companies. I'm about to give a talk to AWS SDRs. They call them customer acquisition reps. I'm proud of that. I'm looking forward to it. When you have those types of brand names, you get to leverage that and like basically have some real swagger. Like we should be talking. And so it's less you don't need like a fancy opener. The opener that I'm about to break down, maybe it is like a little more so for someone, like what if you're at a company with less brand recognition? What if you're at a startup no one knows about? Like how do you earn some trust from a psychology perspective for them to, you know, give you some time, and then actually you could share a little bit of value, like a story that could pique their curiosity.
And just before you get into it, like I actually don't know the actual metric behind it, but before we get into you like showing how to go from unknown to known, like weren't you like the top rep as like a founding account executive and like brought on some of the most logos at your company at like a not well-known startup that you made very relevant?
Yeah, I was the second founding account executive at a Korean company that was building the U.S. business. So I was the second AE for a U.S. business, won 30 new logos, walked us in the door to large accounts. Like
that's crazy.
Some big billion-dollar companies that people would know.
So you have a lot of experience with this.
Yeah, and so there were other things that like outbound is there's different channels, there's different strategies, and yes, like there are things like warm introductions and getting creative with your network that helped me as well. But when it came to cold calling, which is the highest converting channel, it was these types of approaches that really helped me get conversations going. And we'll start with the opener, which is a permission-based opener. Companies like Gong analyze billions of cold calls, and statistically, permission-based openers do the best. And also like Nooks, they're one of their competitors, same thing, right? These companies, they analyze billions of calls. It's the permission-based opener that performs. And a permission-based opener at a high level is you're kind of acknowledging, you're showing social awareness that I'm in an interruption, and like, do I have your permission to have a conversation? I know I'm interrupting you, and the prospect gets to opt in or opt out, putting them in control, and it kind of reduces sales pressure, puts them more at ease. So that, especially that part, like I probably caught you in the middle of something. I love using that, and especially when you're at a no-name company, they're like, who the heck is this? That just earning trust helps. So, but let's break down the opener I did. I'll say it one more time and then break down each component. Hey Jay, this is Chris calling from Rubrik. I probably caught you in the middle of something, but I was reading about your AI initiatives, and I was hoping to ask you a couple quick questions to see if it's even worth a larger conversation. Is that okay? Do you have a second? So first off, we start with a formality. People like to hear their own name. username, and they need to know your name and who you're calling from. That's a formality, and any opener, you're typically going to say that. And I some people keep them like guessing like Jay, and that can, let's be real, it can work if you have good energy. Maybe it can work, but I've heard. I had the chief growth officer of Orem. He was sitting in this seat, and I was in yours. We did a podcast, and he said he doesn't like that when someone's like, they're like, I'm for John. His name's John Eitel. He's like, John? Like, he actually doesn't like that. Like, get to the point. Don't play games. Who are you? And so that's a formality. Their name, your name, who you're calling from. I probably caught you in the middle of something. We talked about it. It's showing social awareness. Like, some people just jump right into it. Hopefully, most people know you don't do that. Like, show some respect and awareness. I was just reading on your recent AI initiatives. It's showing some intentionality. Like, okay, this person did some homework. You communicate that pretty quickly, which is a signal that maybe you might have relevant value. You're not just spraying and praying. So that intentionality can earn some more trust too, in addition to showing you're socially aware that you're an interruption. From there, I was hoping, that's nice language, to ask you a couple quick questions to see if it's even worth a larger conversation. To see if it's even worth a larger conversation acknowledges you're not just a one-track-minded sales robot trying to set a meeting at all costs, regardless of if there's a fit or not to work together. Like, you're aware of a possibility that maybe we don't work together, but you're just asking for permission to have the conversation, and that leads to the permission part. Would that be okay? Do you have a second? You keep them in control. So that's the opener. And you know what? I've got a ton of other openers, like anyone who's been in this space for a while, especially someone like me who stepped into training. I've got different openers, and like our friend Trent, hey, this is Trent calling from Deal. How are you? And it seems like you would use that too. That can work too, for sure. So, but I do like this opener. I tend to model after some of the top people in our space that I've also had in the podcast. And so Kevin Dorsey, a CRO from Finally, that has a great brand. He also was here, and he inspired me a lot with this one, along with this guy Jason Bay, who also was here. And I think you might know these guys. They're great outbound and sales leaders in this space. So that's the opener. How about we go to some of the next components? What do you think? Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's good. One of my favorite questions, just as you were transitioning there, is just kind of asking people like, how open-minded are you?
Yeah,
like,
I've used that before, and
most people consider themselves open-minded, and so then it's like, okay, great. Well, let's talk about this.
Yeah, and so is that from Exactly What to Say, which is a pretty good sales book? Yeah.
I think I actually saw that on your bookshelf one time I was at your place, and I ended up purchasing it.
Oh, it's a good one. So no, that is like, it's a no-oriented question too. Like and I didn't really use that in this cold call role play, but that's a good one where you create a question that gets them to say no, that actually forwards the conversation but makes them feel comfortable, because when people can say no, they actually feel more at ease with you. Right. So like, are you closed-minded? Did you say, are you closed-minded? Or would you, oh wait, hold on. What did you say originally? Are you open-minded?
I'd be like, how open-minded are you, Chris?
Oh, okay, that's fair. What I was thinking in my head, the no-oriented is like, would you be closed-minded to, so okay, I was thinking of that, but it's similar. Okay,
that's why I know HubSpot. We've helped a lot of people get jobs there. They're like big and pushing the no.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would add to that opener, then we can move to the next part. And we're just having fun on a Saturday in Austin. So like,
we're riffing. We don't have to be here, but we're passionate.
We are choosing to be here. So.
Yeah, we get to be here. And again, I just think it's important to like realize we never master sales, and there's no silver bullet, but it's through like role playing like this that we get better. And we get practice. And I want to encourage the audience, guys, find people to role play with at your company. Find a coach. Part of my program, we actually, don't just solidify a script tailored to your company, your solution, your competitors' objections and things like that, but we actually role play for reinforcement. And then also get feedback from customers to then tune it and make it even better. So I just want to emphasize, it's really sales of performance art. It's about this type of stuff that makes us better. And I'm always looking to get better myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to add to the opener that you had is details make the difference. So like when Chris was like, I researched your AI initiative and everything, like that's like really, really good. Where I see like good and great sellers separate themselves, like wherever you're calling into, really get granular with what's going on. So maybe it's like, hey, I read like the second paragraph of your AI initiative about like cybersecurity, like really getting detailed. And one of the hacks that I would always do is I would network with someone inside the company, possibly like lower level, and I'd be like, hey, like what's the biggest initiative you guys, or what's the biggest initiative from your CISO right now, or like CTO, and actually like get the words of how like they're getting the messaging inside the organization. And then when I do make that cold call to that person, I can use very specific words and nomenclature and terminology that they're very familiar with. And so I can really lower the cost to transact and build trust quicker. But it's small, but details really do make a big difference when you're trying to get credibility with the stranger quickly.
Yeah, that is the key to success, is like putting yourself in the prospect's shoes to be able to speak their language, really show their world, and also, just bring personalization that wouldn't make sense for anyone else. And I talk about bringing those things in a cold email outreach, but bring it in the cold call. So that like the best openers, just like the best subject lines of emails and first sentences, are highly personalized and relevant in speaking their language. So ultimately what we would have done, like to take it to another level, is I'm not just say I'm calling for a Rubrik. I would look at the specific prospect and do what you did and what you mentioned doing, which is researching them and speaking their language. That's how you really make it powerful, and that earns trust.
And you can do that to anyone. Like I could be like, hey, Chris, I know your flight from Nashville got delayed 1 hour last night. You probably don't want to do X, Y, Z. And you'd be like, wow.
That.
And you'd be like, wow, this guy like really knows me.
Whoa.
So it's like, you can use it in a lot of places in your life.
Yeah, you really can. And in sales, I jokingly say we're professional stalkers, and it's something to embrace, right? We're showing intentionality, we're doing homework. And show me you know me. As I hear Sam McKenna on the podcast, she's a great sales trainer in our industry, and that's her coined term, but I like it, right? You like show the prospect you know him. You made an effort.
I like that.
And so great perspective, Jay. Like collectively, I think we can really extract a lot of insight for the audience and then take what they like to then apply it to their own role. So now you did hang up on me at first, and I kind of shared with the audience that you're going to get hung up on regardless of how good a cold caller you are. Like even the best, they get hung up on. So let's just accept the nature of cold calling. It's about how quickly we can bounce back. Then you said I'm busy, and a few times actually. And at first, I forget exactly what I said, but I think, appealing to reason, like one, you acknowledge, you go with any objection. I get you're busy. I think I did that. Would it make sense for me to tell you right now why I'm reaching out, so you can decide if it even makes sense to talk again? And so in a way, that's kind of like logical. Like, in fact, I want to do you a favor. Like, let's figure this out now. And then maybe it doesn't even make sense to talk again in the future, which reduces sales pressure. So that's what was going on there. And you might very well, like I did with you, get I'm busy still. And in that case, the real goal here is just to get some time when you're not calling out of the blue, and things are now more warm. There's a little more trust built, and you get something in the calendar, and it's just more familiar, and you actually might have a better opportunity to have a conversation, even if you didn't get into a need in that call in that moment. And ideally, it's funny. I kind of was like judging myself in the moment. I'm like, I'm sometimes my worst critic, and I'm like coaching myself, and I'm like, was I pushing too much to like like get you to accept the invite when I knew you had to go? And I do wonder, like I was thinking in a real world scenario, would the person eventually hang up on me? But also the reality is that I lost my train of thought.
That's fine.
Which happens, but it's like cold calling's messy at the end of the day, and it's so you just gotta keep going, baby. But yeah, no, I was bringing that somewhere, I lost it.
Which is fine.
But it's good to be like, I'm pretty self-critical. I like try and coach myself to get better, which I do think is overall a good thing. And because it's important to be coachable from others, but also to like hold ourselves to high standards. So this is a therapy session for me.
No, you're good. Yeah. Another little nugget for the audience. I actually had one of the guys who just landed. I think an SDR job, hit me up on LinkedIn, and I haven't got into the weeds too much, but he pretty much was like, dude, I'm like working 3 to 4 hours a day, crushing my metrics, setting a ton of appointments. He's like, I'm using AI, like I think it's like called N8N or something, into Claude for messaging, and then he's just ripping a ton of cold emails, and then based off that list, he's cold calling after. And so the reason I say all that is like, don't forget the power of multi-threading. So even your cold call might not be that cold because you're like, hey, Chris shot you an email yesterday or like last week. And now there's like more levels of familiarity. And like, I would always do that with, I would even multi-thread a different way where I would send an email and then send them a LinkedIn request. And all I would say on the message, like very short and simple, is like, sent you an email or sent email or something. And so when you parlay like a lot of the tactics that you're talking about, which are amazing, paired with like some level of multi-threading as well, it can make that phone call go so much smoother because it's like, wow, like this actually might not be just a cold call. Like Chris emailed me yesterday or last week, and he sent me a LinkedIn request, and now he's calling me. Like, he's not annoying. He like actually cares and thinks he can make a difference.
If you're an SDR or account executive who's fresh in your role and you're trying to get off to a hot start, or a seller who's trying to turn things around and you want to crush your metrics and up level to your next promotion, then consider booking time with me at my Calendly link, linked in the description of this video. Because my Tech Sales Accelerator coaching programs have been helping SDRs and account executives in big tech at Oracle, AWS, Databricks, and in the startup world crush their quota and up level in their career. Book some time and we'll map out a plan to hit your unique tech sales goals. All right, let's get back to the episode. He's committed to reaching out, and I'm glad you mentioned strategy when it comes to outbound, because we were getting into cold call and kind of the skill set of cold calling itself. But when we take a step back from a strategy perspective, it's important to diversify our outreach like a well-balanced investment portfolio. That's going to get the best return. So, and what you're doing, I love it, man. Thanks for mentioning it, because it's something that's important to call out. Is it should be a warm call. You know, like you sent a personalized, relevant, value-driven email already. You sent that LinkedIn request that references the email 100% already. And the opener actually might look like this after that. For the warm call, hey Jay, this is Chris calling from Rubrik. I probably caught you in the middle of something, but I'd sent you an email and we connected on LinkedIn. I was just reading about your press releases too, and I was hoping I could ask you a couple quick questions to see if it's even worth a larger conversation. Is that okay? You got a second? Now, also, you could just say, you know, I sent you an email and we connect on LinkedIn, but I'm curious, did you get my email by any chance? You could just stop it there, and then that's a great way to do it too. So you don't have to include the other components of, I was reading this, although it does show a little extra intentionality. So I think it is good to, you're kind of stacking little things that earn trust collectively. But what are your thoughts, by the way? Like, do you like the, let's just keep it simple, did you get it by any chance, or kind of stacking some of the other trust building components?
I would maybe say, have you had a chance to read it? Have you had a chance to look at it?
Oh, that's good, because it also could lead to a no, which builds trust.
Yeah.
Like when they're comfortable saying no. I like that.
And I think a lot of people are busy, and they probably get a lot of emails. They're like, no, honestly, I've just been busy. And you're like, okay, yeah, no worries. I can forward it so it's on the top of your inbox again. But the high level TLDR is blank. That's why I'm calling. I have a short list of just 5 executives I'm calling before I head out for my next trip, and just thought it would make sense for us to connect before I'm out of office for a bit, to see if we can connect in a few weeks to really get a hand of your AI initiative, and possibly see if we can augment any current initiatives that you guys have, so you feel good going into Q1 next year or something.
I like that. Yeah, no, that was really good. And so I think partly you're framing, also just framing you're intentional. You've got a select number of executives you're reaching out to. It's like, who is this guy? He's not just spraying and praying. You're busy. You got the trip coming up. I love using the term augment. Like, can we augment your investment? Can we augment, like back when I sold at Google Cloud, when I knew a customer was on my competitor AWS, would love to explore how we can augment your AWS investments. I'm actually like neutralizing the objection we're all on AWS by implying, we could actually complement them It's not rip and replace. So I do like that term augment. And like some of my best meetings, actually that offer up story, I always tell the 10 million over 3 deal with them when they're all on AWS. The email to get the new CTO did specifically say that, like explore how we can augment your
That is
AWS investment.
crazy.
So you're using it, you're doing it. But I liked your framing too. And that was an example of energy as well, where it's like, you belong there. You're not this nervous, anxious person that's lowering themselves. You're like someone who clearly is respecting their time and yours. So I love it. I'm trying to think. We talked about I'm busy. I'm running to a meeting. We went over that. Now, let's say
we talked about. I know the next thing or one of them. I have a relationship with my rep. At Cohesive.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the next part. Oh yeah. Right before that though was in this case, let's say you did give me time because I gave a third call, didn't I? Like we did 3 calls, or did we float it from the second call?
No, the third was cohesive.
Okay.
The second was I'm busy.
Yeah. Okay. What I meant to say is though, I did a call, you hung up on me, and then the second call, didn't you say I'm not interested? But then, did I get into sharing like the story, or was that on a third call?
That was the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. Man, we're doing it. It's a call within a call within a call. It's like Inception.
Yeah.
Okay. So the third call, I got to share a reason I was calling, and I'll break that down. It is good to position ourselves as a trusted advisor who talks to people like the person we're reaching out to at companies like theirs. So it's like, Jay, I talk to chief information security officers like you all the time at other leading healthcare institutions. It's good, can build a little bit of trust. And in this case, I chose to ask for permission to tell a story of a relevant company in their space. Now, you were laughing, and so I wonder, it might have been a little wordy. I think and that's something I'm always working on. And for the audience, like it's you always want to, how can you make your conversation or your script shorter and more conversational too? So sometimes I have to manage myself. So was that why you were laughing? Was the ask about a story? Like, can I tell you a story about how we helped St. Luke's Medical improve their data resiliency strategy and achieve a 73% TCO versus their legacy systems?
Yeah.
So that was just a little wordy.
And I think it's funny, and for context, I run elite tech sales, and like literally I think all of our LinkedIn content is just sales memes. So it's like stuff like that is just like so, like I consider it like so salesy. Like, can I show you like the TCO and ROI like versus so
I could have
probably a bit wordy, but again, I think like if you know that, like you can sometimes like call it out and be like, yeah, like I'm sure you're gonna get some cheesy rep call you and say they can, save you 70% TCO with all this other word vomit, but like, here's what we'll actually do.
Yeah, you know what?
So like, I know I'm kind of like
no, and see,
fun of
no,
it
but
in a way,
no. But the purpose of this too is to get feedback. And so
and everyone's style is different.
And because this like high level, make the script shorter and more conversational. So let's look at how we could actually make that more conversational. Because the overall principle of saying, I talk to people like you all the time at companies like yours. And so can I share a story, like basically asking permission to share a relevant story? Mm-hmm. That's a good approach.
And really earns trust.
So that works. But it was the script itself, the delivery, that was a little wordy. And I sensed it too. I got the feedback, the laugh. And it's good for the audience to kind of see this. So let me try again to see if we make it more conversational, right? Because it was a little salesy. It was a little salesy, and I can fall into that trap. So, okay, appreciate it, Jay. I talk to CISOs like yourself at leading healthcare institutions like yours all the time. I was wondering, could I tell you a quick story of how we helped St. Luke's Medical improve their data resiliency strategy and save a ton of money?
I like it.
A little bit better?
Yeah.
Save a ton of money. So that was more conversational. I think that would be better. Yeah. Is there any way do you want to, if you want, we could riff on it like your own version. Otherwise, we can leave it at that. I do think that was a lot better. But.
Yeah, maybe I'd be like, I actually just got off a call with the CISO of St. Luke's Medical in Columbus, Ohio, Luke blank, or like their name, like very specific and like recent. And we actually just finished doing a full audit of, or whatever you worded to them. And the results were outstanding of what they'd be facing in terms of millions if a ransomware attack did occur. And one of the things that we realized, like working with Luke and the team, is like they don't have a lot of people on their IT staff. They don't have a lot of time to actually like run these audits themselves. And so this is something we do complimentary for free, and we give white glove treatment just so you have the data to make a grounded assessment without you doing any additional work on your end. Would you be interested in learning more about how we did that for one of your, quote unquote competitors or someone, adjacent in the industry?
I like that. Yeah, I like just specifically mentioning someone that you'd worked with, and I think you did a good job of like hooking curiosity, dropping the millions numbers. And so, yeah, I think I like your approach. I like how I reworded to just make it a lot simpler, to ask for permission to tell the story. No, I felt good overall. I was going off the cuff. In fact, I mean, we didn't do any really much preparation for this whole thing in general. So I think, hey, we're riffing with it. We're flowing with it. But I think the story is told well overall. Like, we talked about the current situation, kind of the petabytes of data, millions of records, the risk of the current environment, the exercise they ran and realizing, oh shit, excuse my French, but we'd take 30 days to recover, give millions of dollars. They turned to us. We did things differently, helped them be more proactive, and talked about results. Sleeping at night, that's emotionally compelling. The team could actually sleep at night. And then you mentioned the TCO, and then roll it into an open-ended question about how they're approaching their strategy. So overall, I felt good about like that story. Just to the audience, customer stories are the most powerful form of communication. I mean, storytelling in general is the most powerful form of communication, whether you're selling yourself for an interview, which Jay, helps a ton of people break into tech or land better AE roles and upgrading their career. Storytelling is huge. So being able to tell a vivid story with clear before and after, clear outcomes that are relevant, that is emotionally compelling, is powerful. And yeah, so then you roll it into the question about their current process to lead to an open dialogue, a stream of consciousness where they could talk about what they're doing today. Because ultimately, the story earns enough trust to hopefully get them to actually answer your question and share about what they're doing. Now, I want to call out the importance of open-ended, neutral questions instead of leading questions. Like, oh, are you pretty concerned about a breach yourself? Or like, oh, how like there are questions we can ask, and I don't even know if that was the best leading question, where it's clear you're trying to manipulate them into saying like what you want them to say. Like, this was open and neutral, just asking them about their current processes that can lead down a path of them hitting up on maybe a specific gap that you could address in a differentiated way that has a business impact, and that's the hook for the meeting. And so just want to throw that in there because I do work with a ton of reps, and some of them are asking like very leading questions that are clear, like, oh, this rep is just trying to manipulate me to get me to say that I have a pain.
Right.
There's a way to be a little more subtle about it. So let's start it with open-ended, neutral, process-oriented questions to get the conversation flowing. You hit me with, we're using Cohesity, which is a competitor, and that's great because then you gain some information, what you're up against. The framework for any objection in general is go with rather than resist. And so in this case, it's really good, especially when they're using a competitor, to ask them about how it's going. And you gave some great context on they're doing a good job with the relationship, the technology works. And from there, then you have an opportunity to kind of validate, oh yeah, I have heard that they're great, they offer good relationships, but when I talk to teams that are using Cohesity, sometimes a concern is introduced around the risk related to not being able to modify the risk related to being able to modify and delete backups. I'm curious, how are you managing that? So you're able to go with it, but then like bring up maybe a gap that the competitor doesn't address that has a risk and a cost, and ask them, how are you managing that? Another neutral, open-ended question. It's not like, oh, do you know how much that risk is going to cost? Or like, well, I don't know. It just, we can kind of tell in the question. It's not like a leading manipulative question. It's just open. And now they're going to think about it. And you gave me an answer. And ultimately, then, like from there, if you do successfully identify a gap, and it's your job to know the gaps that your competitors have that you address, that actually have a meaningful business impact, which is the reason for the meeting. So you asked the open-ended question, and then I asked, do you know how long it takes to recover? Do you know the potential cost? And you didn't, but I was able to point to that For other companies like you, it's this. And there's a little bit of getting into the pain and the cost of staying the same. And just ultimately positioning myself and our company as an insurance policy to increase your options in that specific area. I think that at the end of the day, regardless of where you're at in a cold call, you can sell the value of your ability to bring in resources, especially at a good company, and increase a company's options. You can help them increase their negotiating leverage. You can help them be an option to address a gap they have. Even if you don't work with them today, at least you're an insurance policy for the future. So I think you get the concept, but that's something I've always hung my hat on is we just want to be an insurance policy for the future. Let us increase your options. Who doesn't want more options and less risk? So,
dude, and you're so good at this. Like, I just think it's so cool how nowadays you're working with AWS, Ramp, Dell, like all these big companies and like speaking to their teams, because the one thing that I always notice with you is like you can't teach heart, and it's like, dude, you have so much passion and wisdom for like everything, and I just want to acknowledge like the attention to detail, like finding these gaps in technology, like bringing up pain points, neutralizing questions. Like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, thank you, brother. And so I do have a lot of heart behind this, and that's why I left the W-2 just like you did to build Elite Tech Sales. So let's go, baby. Men in the arena, helping lift people onto the tech sales path and lift to higher places in the tech sales arena.
Freedom and impact.
Me, helping create freedom and impact. Helping SDRs and AEs, hit their metrics and giving money. Really tailored guidance, though, to the context of their specific role. Yes, helping them with outbound, right? Cold calling, cold email, LinkedIn, the strategy involved, like multi-threading to different personas across different channels, following up with finesse. But then working with AEs, man, I've been doing great work on discovery calls, which is the epitome of the sales cycle, where you set the tone for the whole sales cycle and relationship with the prospect, being able to manage deals and qualify them. Like, especially with AEs, how do you put together mutual engagement plans to really get more control over the sales process and shorten it? And so I'm loving it. I'm always learning. I learn from, the people I'm working with too. They have great ideas. I'm working with some people that like they're number one in their org. So I'm showing them new ways to be more successful and helping reinforce their success. And yet these people are top performers. And I noticed that the people you work with too at Elite Tech Sales, they're elite. You're attracting a lot high caliber people. And so it's been a fun journey, man, and just getting started. But this conversation has been great. I think we covered a lot. But in terms of like, give me an update on, Elite Tech Sales and some of the stuff you've been doing, man. What's lighting you up? Because I really believe in you guys. Like, the results you've gotten for people are incredible. And you pass some of these people my way too for upskilling in their roles. And I'm like, these are high caliber people. And they are like Jay and team I was skeptical about coaching or even just like courses and things and support. And they produce unbelievable results, and I'm a believer, and Jay literally changed my life. I'm serious. Like, people are saying that. So just give us the latest updates on Elite Tech Sales.
Yes, I will, but I want to take it back to what you're doing as well, because you are making a huge impact. But yeah, it's like we're still coaching people. It's pretty cool. Like, some of the wins people are getting are kind of fun. Like, there's a guy who's an SDR with zero closing experience, and he went from Google and ended up getting an AE role at Databricks with zero closing experience.
Wow.
So talk about like building good narratives and selling yourself. Pretty sweet. We have a free community with a lot of our 4K assets hosted in it again. So it's just cool, because like, even if people don't do our coaching, they get a ton of value out of it. Like, we've had people land jobs at like Ramp, like head of partnerships and stuff like that, just from our free content alone. And what's been really cool, even like this past week, is just with all the people we've helped. And this is something I can't fully pinpoint, but it's just like cool to see other people give back. Like, one of the guys from HubSpot put in our chat this week, is like, hey, like, we're hiring X amount of people at HubSpot. If anyone, needs a referral, I got a lot of value out of this community. Happy to refer you. Same with an SDR at Ramp. He's like, hey, we're hiring 33 people before January 1st next year. If you need a referral, here's my number, text me. And I think that's like the coolest thing is not everyone like needs coaching, but also like just had a guy who's at Oracle for a year we helped, unfortunately got caught up in layoffs. Like him and one other person came back for coaching that we helped a long time ago from Oracle and Sofa. So like we have people coming back, which is cool. And then a lot of the content community we can give away for free. And then, yeah, just been doing some recruiting for seed to Series C startups, which has been fun. A few one-off hires, getting into a few bigger offers, bigger poker tables, which is fun. And I think the cool part about recruiting is really working with companies and being a trusted advisor on like, hey, like here's what a good seller looks like. Here's what a good framework of interviewing people looks like maybe ask for their revenue attainment, and like a few other factors spaced 5 minutes apart from each other. So you can kind of like see if they actually know their numbers or if they're just trying to fluff it. And just look for patterns and answers like, are they blaming their company or their organization, or do they take accountability? And so really helping either VPs of sales, founders, like place the right reps in and make a difference and make sure the reps can actually, have a high likelihood to hit quota has been pretty cool because the cost of attrition is super high. So yeah, I mean, that's the quick and dirty update with Elite Tech Sales, free community for job seekers. Recruiting's been awesome. And I think a huge value add has been just a lot of our working relationship together. Like a lot of people who get jobs, they want to be the number one in their org, like the people that you coach. And as we transition more to what you're doing, because like you never put the spotlight on yourself, and I want that spotlight hitting you right now, would you actually be able to break down for the audience like what it means to be number one in an org? Because like I know you've clearly helped people become number one in their org, and we're talking like big organization, not like small company. Like what type of difference does that make in someone's W-2 nowadays? Like is that significant? Or I mean, could you just talk to me about that? Because I feel like if I was in sales, I'd be looking for someone like you to like really, really upskill me. If I knew there was like, oh, okay, cool. I give this guy this, and then it gives me this output of money. Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely impact someone's income by 50 to 100K plus if you're a top performer. And I say plus because the sky's the limit depending on the company and the compensation plan. And sometimes, like I remember at Google Cloud, we had 1 year where the comp plan was really designed in our favor, and it was our year to make $1 million plus. Now, I didn't make $1 million plus myself that year. I actually had a peer who did, which was pretty crazy, but it's amazing the upside if we can tune in the mindset, the habits, the daily, I'd say weekly and daily planning, the skill sets around specifically pipeline generation and pipeline progression, and just really focusing on those money-making activities. But so you develop the skills so you show up better, you're preparing with precision, you have the right habits dialed in, you're at your best. Like there's always a mindset component and habits component in my coaching programs. It really makes a difference. It gives that edge. And in our programs, we give tailored accountability. Like you have a big discovery call coming up. I'm going to help you prepare with precision. We'll even role play it to really get you ready. You have a big like a presentation, like on a business, like an actual proposal later in the sales cycle. We'll prepare with you and we'll help you, get that feedback to really show up at your best and maximize that conversation. Being able to work with reps to really own their sales process and qualify deals early on effectively to better report up the chain, better forecast, and shorten those sales cycles using tools like mutual engagement plans, which are a great way to collaborate with prospects on basically reverse engineering the steps that need to happen to get deals done by a certain time based on a compelling event. And I'm training AEs up on that. And I've even got a supporting cast with Rod, who is local here, and we're going to do a podcast in a couple of days. The guy he's closed $20 million deals at Oracle. So just putting that in perspective, like he's worked with monster enterprise companies and achieved at a very high level as a seller. Then he was a trainer for 5 years at Oracle. He's a part of our program. Him and I have weekly meetings too, where we're kind of sharpening the program and the frameworks and everything we're teaching. And he'll hover in, and sometimes we'll even co-facilitate for the people who invest. So I'm really proud of what we're doing. We've been doing more and more stuff in the AE space, but we love SDRs. I love SDRs. When I was at Oracle, Google Cloud, I mentored all my SDRs. I got them promoted to AE. So before I even started coaching SDRs out in the market across big companies, I was just passionate about it. I was doing trainings for the SDRs. So yeah, we love helping people upskill and gain confidence. Like there's just also just value in winning in your job. Like aside from the money, which you can use the tool to create more freedom and impact, right? It just feels good to be winning and to be good at what you do. And that swagger, that confidence can carry over into a lot of aspects of life. And dude, it brings me so much joy. You know my heart's in it. You said it. Your heart's in it too. And it's fun to lift people up on this path, man. So I would say that audience, check out Elite Tech Sales free community. That's amazing. Like they have content, super high production quality. I know Jay invested a ton of his money to produce it at that level of quality. That's linked in the description of this video. In terms of getting engaged with Tech Sales Accelerator, I've got a free cold calling system you can check out. A lot of AEs I work with, they need to also master pipeline generation and outbound. Like an AE I work with at Databricks, he's in a hunting role. So it's useful to people at any level. I mean, it's useful to founders. I actually do have a founder I'm working with on outbound to win more clients. Like the only people who sell more than SDRs and AEs and sellers and tech sales are founders. So that's actually cool. I'm working with founders on sales, the skills to win their first clients, and then also how to put systems in place to eventually scale out of sales and empower people. So anyways, the cold call system's in there. And if you want, you can also book time with me at some point for a free strategy session to map out a plan of your goals if you are an SDR or AE. And anything else you want to add in terms of your call to action? Because the community is such a good starting point. But any other calls to action, for Elite Tech Sales?
No, I would say join the community. And then, yeah, I mean, just for what you're doing, Chris, it's sometimes tough because like when you're in tech sales, you're like, I don't want to spend this extra money or like do this or something. It's kind of funny because looking back, like I think every quarter I had to pull in maybe like 1.7 to like 2.4 million a quarter, like pretty big deals. And what's kind of interesting is like if I would have had like good coaching on like a few of those like, $250,000 to 500K deals every quarter, like it would have been interesting if I could have grabbed like one or two back in the pipeline. So yeah. I think for definitely people in that position or any other position, I would definitely hit up Chris and at least do a strategy session. I think that's like a lesson I've learned a bit later in my life is if you can optimize for like skill acquisition and people who've actually done things that you're looking to achieve, like you've closed bigger deals than me. I think my biggest was only like 1.4 million. I think yours was about 10 million. So with that frame of thinking, like I have an ignorance deficit of like every day that I don't pay someone like you, like I'm losing $9 million of a deal that I could close. And so I think that's like an important frame of reference of like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I think the coolest part about skill acquisition is, you learn from great mentors. You crush it at Google, you close a $10 million deal, and it's like, oh, then you become an entrepreneur, and you now own that skill set to close $10 million deals to your own company. So, yes. Join Elite Tech Sales if you want. It's totally free. Book a strategy session with Chris. He is the GOAT of outbound, and he just has heart behind it. I think a lot of people like do it as a facade, but it's like you literally, eat, breathe, and sleep outbounding.
Yeah, and it is really, though, about helping people create lives of freedom and impact, because what I'm really passionate about is leadership, development, and personal growth. And so what's funny is I love outbound and even like discovery and managing your sales cycles better, but I want people to live fully, to become the best version of themselves. And tech sales and the skill sets and all of it's a Trojan horse to talk about those things. And I think in the self-development world, you can read all you want about psychology and success, but it's not until you're the men or women in the arena applying the principles in action in an arena like sales that you actually produce fruits. You produce quantum leaps in performance and purpose. So How cool is that tech sales is an arena in which we can apply the principles of self-development to actually get on the court and convert our dreams into reality.
You give me the chills.
Come on. So,
Come on.
Jay, what a conversation, brother.
Thanks for visiting Austin for this podcast.
Yeah, it's been fun. And to the audience, thanks for tuning in. And to your success in tech sales and in life, happy selling, happy living. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.